Once upon a time, in a land far away, there was a beautiful village called Ama Village. It was a peaceful place, full of love, hard work, and unity. But Ama Village was different from every other village. Only women lived there. Many years ago, a strange curse fell upon Ama Village. From that day, no man could live there. Any man who tried to settle in Ama Village would fall sick and die. The only man who could live there without harm was their king, King Ugo. King Ugo was not just any man. He was a kind, humble, and selfless king, loved by all. He had no wife, no children, and he lived alone in the palace, dedicating his life to serving the women of Ama. Every day, King Ugo would gather the women together and encourage them with sweet and powerful words. "My dear women," he would say, "you are strong, you are productive, you are wise. Never give up. Don't let anyone look down on you because there are no men here. Ama Village is the most hard-working and fruitful village in the land, and that's because of you." The women would cheer and clap, happy to have such a good king. They truly loved and respected him. But one day, something changed. After King Ugo finished his speech that afternoon, the women suddenly started shouting, "No king! No king! No king!" King Ugo was surprised. He raised his hand to calm them down. "Why are you shouting like this? What have I done wrong?" he asked, his voice full of concern. One of the elder women, Mama Njideka, stepped forward with tears in her eyes. "Our king, you have done nothing wrong," she said. "We love you, you are a great man, but we are tired." The other women nodded and murmured in agreement. Another woman added, "We have worked hard. We have built farms. We raise our children alone. We cook, we clean, we protect this village. But there is one thing missing: men." King Ugo looked at them with a heavy heart as the women poured out their pain. "King Ugo," they continued, "we need husbands. We need men to help us in the home, in the farms, and most importantly, we need men to give us children. Without men, how will we continue our generation? We will grow old and die, and Ama Village will become empty. We don't want our village to disappear." Some of the women had tears in their eyes. Others were holding each other tightly, silently crying. "Please, king," they begged. "We are not asking you to break the curse alone. But beg the gods, talk to them, plead for us. We need men in Ama Village again. We cannot do this anymore." King Ugo felt their pain deeply. Though he had no wife or child of his own, he had never imagined how much the women were suffering in silence. He stood up from his throne, looked at them all with love, and spoke with a calm, steady voice. "My daughters, my queens, I hear you. I feel your pain. I see your strength. I will not stop praying. I will cry to the gods day and night. If I have to go to the forest, fast for days, or sacrifice everything I have, I will do it. For you, for Ama Village, we will not give up." The women clapped softly, hopeful once more. That night, as the moon rose high in the sky, King Ugo stood outside the palace, looking at the stars. "O great gods of the land," he whispered, "please hear my cry. Let Ama Village live again. Remove this curse. Let men return. Let joy return." And so began a spiritual journey that would change Ama Village forever. In the village of Ama, the women were not only strong, they were farmers, builders, and providers. Every single day they worked on their large farmlands under the sun. Their soil was rich and their crops grew in abundance. Yams, cassava, maize, vegetables, name it, and you'd find it in Ama. Even though there were no men in the village, Ama was still the most productive village in their entire region. The women were celebrated for their hard work and dedication, but still something was missing in their hearts. They had food, they had peace, they had unity, but they had no men. One hot afternoon, after working on the farms, the women of Ama gathered at the village square, tired, dusty, but heavy with thoughts. They sat on mats and wooden benches under the great Iroko tree, where they often met to talk, share ideas, and comfort each other. Mama Nkechi, a middle-aged woman with 3 grown daughters, wiped her sweaty face and sighed deeply. "We can't continue like this," she said. "Other villages have men who carry heavy loads, protect their homes, and help their wives. But we do everything ourselves." Another woman, young and sharp-tongued, added, "Not just that. They also enjoy love. They have husbands, romance, and children. What about us? We're growing old in silence and loneliness." The women sighed again, some shaking their heads sadly. Some looked at the ground in deep thought. Suddenly, a strange idea dropped into the heart of Aobi, a clever young widow known for her wild imagination. She looked around, lowered her voice and said, "What if we follow our king to the river tomorrow morning?" Everyone turned to look at her. "Follow King Ugo?" Mama Nkechi asked. "Why?" Adaobi leaned closer and whispered, "I've noticed something. Every morning before sunrise the king goes alone to the stream to bathe. No guards, no servants, he goes quietly." The women were confused. "And so?" someone asked. Adaobi stood up and whispered again, "We secretly follow him, hide and watch. We want to see his manhood. Maybe, just maybe, if we know what it looks like, we can mold it with clay and worship it. Maybe the gods of manhood will see our hunger and bless us with real men." There was a moment of silence, then someone laughed, then another, and before long the entire group of women were laughing and clapping like little children. "Adaobi, you are mad, but your madness makes sense," Mama Njideka said between laughter. Another woman added, "Yes, it's true. The king is the only man here. Maybe there's something special about his manhood that holds the secret to our curse." The idea, though strange and even embarrassing, began to make sense to them. These were women who had not been with any man in years, some since they were teenagers. They longed for love, for affection, for children, for partnership. So that evening, as the sun was setting, the women agreed to wake up very early the next day. They picked 5 brave women to carry out the secret mission. These women would quietly follow the king to the river, hide in the bushes, and spy on him while he bathed. Once they see what they came for, they would go back home, mold his manhood with clay, and they would build a small secret altar to worship it. "If the gods of manhood will not hear our tears, then they will hear our clay," Adaobi whispered with confidence. "Let us shape our own miracle," another added. That night, the entire village went quiet. Not because they were asleep, but because their hearts were racing with excitement, curiosity, and a strange hope. And far away, alone in his palace, King Ugo knelt before his small shrine as usual, praying deeply. "O gods of our land, I am still begging you, let these women feel whole again. Amma must live again." But the king had no idea that the women were about to take matters into their own hands, in the most shocking and unusual way. The sun had barely risen when the 5 chosen women of Amma village silently followed King Ugo into the forest. He was walking to the river, as he always did each morning, calm, alone, and unaware. The women hid carefully behind thick bushes, holding their breath and crouching low as they watched their king. When King Ugo reached the riverbank, he took off his royal wrapper, folded it gently, and stepped into the clear water. He stood under the early morning sun, his body glowing, and began to wash himself. At that moment, the women saw what they came for, and what they saw shocked them beyond words. "Oh, so this is what we've been missing," whispered Adaobi, eyes wide open. "God of manliness must hear us by fire," another woman gasped, pressing her hands over her mouth. "No wonder he's the only man allowed to live in Amma," someone murmured, her voice trembling. They stared in silence, eyes locked on the image before them. Then, without a word, they quietly turned around and left, careful not to make any sound. When they returned to the village, they didn't waste time. They gathered red clay from the riverbank and began molding a replica of the king's manliness based on what they saw. They placed the clay model in the middle of an empty hut and built a small shrine around it using palm fronds, leaves, and stones. From that day forward, the women of Amma village began a daily secret worship. Every morning, before the king even woke up, they would gather at the clay image, kneeling, singing, clapping, and praying with deep cries from their hearts. "O God of manliness," they would pray, "we have seen the seed of what we are missing. Please visit us. Bring men into our lives again. Give us love, give us husbands, give us children. Let this curse be broken forever." This went on for 7 days. On the 8th morning, something mysterious and miraculous happened. As the women gathered for their usual worship, they heard voices, deep male voices, echoing in the village. At first, they thought it was a dream, but when they stepped outside, they froze in shock. Men, real, breathing men, were walking through the village paths. Some were clearing bushes, some were fetching water, others were already helping women carry heavy loads. The women of Amma screamed with joy. They ran, they jumped, they cried, they danced. They hugged one another like little children. "God of manliness has answered us. The curse is broken. We are not alone anymore. Drums were brought out, songs were raised, the women threw wrappers in the air, children danced, old women rolled on the ground in thanksgiving. King Ugo, hearing the loud celebration, came out of his palace confused. "What's going on?" he asked, but the women only smiled at him and said, "Thank you, our king. Your greatness helped us see our miracle. Our pain is over." From that day on, Amma village was never the same again. The once women-only village became a place of complete joy and unity. Men and women worked together, raised families, and built a peaceful land. No one ever mentioned the clay mold again. It was quietly taken down and buried under the biggest tree, as a symbol of their answered prayers. Moral lessons from Amma village. 1. Desperation with unity can move mountains. When people join hands with one voice, even the impossible can be reversed. 2. Faith requires action. The women did not only pray, they acted. Sometimes your miracle needs both prayer and bold steps. 3. Every unanswered prayer has a set time. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it never will. 4. Leadership is about compassion. King Ugo showed love and patience, even when he didn't understand their secret cries. 5. Sometimes, strange methods lead to mighty miracles. Never look down on unusual faith if it brings healing and peace. Thank you message to my viewers. Thank you, dear viewers, for joining me on this beautiful and powerful journey through the story of Amma village. I hope this tale touched your heart, made you laugh, made you think, and reminded you that hope is never lost, even in the strangest situations. If you loved this story, please don't go without subscribing to this channel. There are so many more amazing, emotional, and spiritual stories waiting just for you. Click subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and stay connected for more inspiring village tales, folk tales, and life lessons from the heart of the land. Share this video with someone who needs a little miracle in their life. Till we meet again in the next story. Stay blessed, stay strong, and never stop believing in the impossible.